up, people? It's your boy Chig from Guna Eagle Eye, coming to you again with a brand new video. This time it is Eagle Eye, the transfer rumor show. Excuse me. Well, I talk to you about rumors and news surrounding the Arsenal. Now, you're probably wondering where I am. I'm here, but this is an image for you guys. I, quite frankly, don't feel like putting a top on because it is hot. So I figured, let me take this off camera because you most definitely don't want to see me topless. So I figured, let me literally do this show without me being on camera. And because my tower fan is as rickety as anything, let me actually be professional, turn it off, so you hear stone cold silence apart from my voice. And yeah, I guess that gives me an excuse to come off camera. So don't miss me too much. I'm literally just testing this out to see how well it does or doesn't work. And a lot of the reason I'm late is because I was trying to set it up to show all the pictures of all the players that I'm going to be talking about today. Didn't realize it would take so long. And even then, I still not quite find the right size for everything. But hopefully you guys will like the video as we carry on. Do me a favor. Please do stick a like on this video. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And just generally have fun in the chat. Be respectful to each other, please. And yeah, let's get it kicked off and going. Let's talk about Mr. Mesut Ozil. I read the story. All right, I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be totally honest with you guys. Yeah, me and Lee, are good friends. One of the things we always try and do is we always try and boost each other. We also try not to, pardon the pun, cross streams, so to speak. So in the sense that, if he's going with the story, Lee's story, I try not to go with the same story, and vice versa. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was just looking for stories to talk to you guys about. This shows you guys I'm never off. I'm always working for you guys, always thinking of things to talk about with you guys. And I discovered this story. And I immediately texted it over to Lee. And I was like, brother, if you don't go with this with a Lee story, I will. I noticed he didn't, so I will. And that is Mesut Ozil. Fenerbahce are clearly very desperate to get him. Obviously, there's a lot of talk from our end that, since he's now fallen out with Arteta, or seemingly falling out with Arteta, and the board have been desperate to get him off his books and rectify Ivan the Weasel's mistake. That they'd be prepared to let him go this summer and subsidize his wages for a year. When I say subsidize, it's only part of his wages. Because the way they see it, they'd rather pay £150,000 a week than 350,000. Sorry, let me try that sentence again. They'd rather pay £350,000. Sorry, they'd rather pay £150,000 a week for a year than pay £350,000 a week for a year. We got there in the end. So it just makes sense that if someone is able to even subsidize £200,000 of the last year of his contract, they'd be willing to do it. Makes financial sense to me. Enter Fenerbahce. We know that the two places that I think he's most likely to go after Arsenal is either America or Fenerbahce. I don't see any Italian side looking to take him. I don't see any French side looking to take him. So I think the likely move is either going to be Fenerbahce, which is a club he has always said that he wants to play for prior to retiring, or America. And the theory behind America is that, if you don't know, Mesut Ozil owns coffee shops. He owns one in Germany, I believe France, definitely London. And I mean, if you own a coffee chain and you ain't in America, I don't know what you're doing. America, are comfortably the biggest drinkers of coffee in the world. So it just makes a lot of sense why he'd want at some point to move over there. So either way, I think he's planning to move his coffee shop over there anyway, regardless of if his football career takes him there. but obviously it would make life easier. Um, and Arsenal are trying to see if they can make that happen sooner rather than later. I think we all accepted that he'd be here at least until next year, because next year is when his contract ends. But for now, we just have to kind of sit, bear it, and hope it rides out. So we kind of are where we are in that respect. But what is interesting about this is that obviously he's still under contract, so that means it will come with a fee. And what Fenerbahce are trying to do is that they've set up a bit of an ingenious thing. They want to do a phone line. They want to build a phone line. It's a premium rate phone line in which fans call. So say it's like £1.50 a minute. Fans call it, and then what that does is that it raises cash. So let's say if they get flipping, I don't know, 1,000,000 calls, because that's what they're targeting, 1,000,000 people to call. That'll raise a big chunk of cash, and they're planning to use that cash for Mesut Ozil's purchase. Let me tell you something. Send me that number. I'll call it. Send me that number. I never thought I would say, I never thought I would admit on the internet, I call premium numbers. I don't, by the way. I was on myself making jokes. But I'll tell you what, in this particular instance, send me that number. I'll call it. I'll call it a few times. Flipping heck. Let's talk about raising money for him to be purchased. Cool. I'm up for that. Are you lot up for that? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. But maybe, just maybe, this Mesut Ozil to Fenerbahce thing is not so far-fetched. I still think it's unlikely. I still think we've got a grit and bearing for a year. But let's just say it's gone from 0% to maybe 4 or 5%. Let's see where we go. Okay, let's see if I can work this transition seamlessly. Let's talk about this man, Mr. Joe Hart. Oh dear. So I remember speaking to Lee when the injury happened to Leno, and I must admit, guys, I'll be real with you. I know that the Arsenal Fan TV lot were very, very angry. They're the only people I know that were that angry about it, because to me, me and Lee were watching it. It looked like a collision to me. I would have been annoyed if that was my strike. I would have been annoyed if they didn't try and go for that. There was nothing malicious in my mind about that challenge, and it kind of is what it is. I mean, everyone has their right to their opinion, but my opinion is that, to me, I think people are overreacting about that Malpai challenge. I think he didn't do anything wrong to me. It was unfortunate that Leno came off the way he did, but this is not a Ramsey situation to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wasn't vexed or anything. It was just kind of like just one of them things that happen. You know, wish him well, wish him a speedy recovery. It is what it is. But oh man, there are consequences. And I did say to Lee, I remember saying this to Lee, and I thought, flip. I hope these motherfuckers don't watch this show. Me and Lee were talking about potential replacements for him. I remember doing this on his watch along. And I said to him, what about Nick Pope? Because to be honest, if even before Saturday's incident, I was thinking about goalkeepers to push Leno. And I've always liked Nick Pope. I'm a sucker for a tall goalkeeper anyway. He's another one who's 6'5", like Martinez. Very agile, very good, very capable. Commands his area well. Tall goalkeepers do, they do, because they're not always as agile as slightly shorter goalkeepers, but they are very good at commanding their space. And I think, that's the advantage of having a tall goalkeeper. And he has always been very good at that. And he's someone we've been linked with for a while. We're being linked with him most recently for 10 million. And then I remember turning to Leah and I said, knowing Arsenal, they'll probably end up going for Joe Hart. And lo and behold, it looks like we're going for Joe Hart. Oh my goodness, Joe Hart, guys. Joe Hart, guys. I mean, what is going on? What is going on? As soon as I saw this story, I started laughing my ass off. I was like, what really? Arsenal are that dumb. I mean, they're that dumb. But they're going to go for Joe Hart. So there's schools of thought here. And I've seen both ends of the story. It's also important to qualify this by saying that Matt Macy has apparently agreed an extension because he was out of contract this summer. And he's agreed a 1-year extension to stay following this injury. So it's important to qualify that with that information, this story with that information. But there's two schools of thought. One of the schools of thought is that Joe Hart is going to be signed on emergency cover. And that's literally just for the last few weeks of the season. And then obviously in the summer, they'll be able to find a proper number 2. The second school of thought is that actually Joe Hart is the identified number 2. Bear in mind, he's also the number 2 at Burnley. So you're telling me that Burnley's number 2 is good enough to be Arsenal's number? Let me not even get started. So supposedly he is the person that we've identified to be the number 2. And not only are we going to sign him for the rest of this season, we're also going to sign him for next season, because I also need to qualify what I'm saying by saying this. There are rumors that Lennon's injury is so bad he could be out for a year. So we're not talking about no little injury here. We're talking about a very, very long-term injury to Bernd Leno. So there are various different schools of thought on this. From my perspective, flipping heck. Surely we can find someone better than Joe Hart. I honestly, I genuinely don't know what I'll do. If we go for Joe Hart, please God, let us not go for Joe Hart. Please God, let us not go for Joe Hart. I can't begin to say that anymore. I never really rated him when he was at City. He had a decent 18-month spell where he looked unbeatable. And I remember people spitting bars like, oh, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. I was like, in the world? Come on. He's now 33 years old and he can't get a game anywhere. No thanks, no thanks, no thanks. Flip, Arsenal. I know money's hard to come by. But my word, Joe Hart, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Please let us not do that. So there's that story. Then there's another story. Things don't get much better for a little while. Let's talk about Jonathan David. So Jonathan David is someone that a lot of you guys have identified as someone that you'd like to replace either Lacazette or Aubameyang. Goal scorer. He's 20 years old, 21 years old, I think, actually now. He scored 21 goals and 10 assists this season, the last time I looked. Although since the league has restarted, he may have added a couple more since. But that was the last time I saw those stats. And obviously, he's a striker with a lot of promise. A lot of teams are looking at him. A lot of teams are looking at him. Arsenal and United were said to have made an inquiry about him last week. And then we didn't hear anything. And now we know why, because apparently we found out today that he actually favors a move to the Bundesliga. And Borussia Mönchengladbach have made a bid of 25 million euros. And it looks like Jonathan David is on his way to the Bundesliga. Now, I must admit, to be fair to this story, and where this story may carry some weight, I remember seeing this story a couple of months ago, that he wasn't looking to move to the Premier League just yet because he didn't feel he was ready for it just yet. And that he wanted to continue to develop and he wanted to experience another league first. So he'd always made it clear that he felt that the Bundesliga would be a good branch into the Premier League. because obviously he's got good defenders, he's physical, he's of a certain quality. So it'd be a good step to go into the Premier League via that. He's still very young, and I imagine that someone like a City or a Liverpool or someone that will probably have more cash than us in a couple of years' time will probably buy him in the future. But he shows a wise head on his shoulders, that's for damn sure. But yes, Jonathan David apparently is being linked with a brew to Borussia Mönchengladbach. All right, let's see if we can start to turn the tide on some of this bad news that we're receiving. Let's talk about Almada. This South American is someone that a lot of people rate. You've heard me call him Mini Sanchez. Just remember where you heard that phrase Mini Sanchez from, because I know lots of people are going to start claiming it. Now, this was a story I saw over the weekend. I wanted to make sure that I caught this story before someone else did. But Almada is someone that we've been linked with before. 19 years old, from South America, specifically Argentina. Plays as a central midfielder, and showing a lot of promise. A lot of teams are interested in him, including United, us. This season, he scored 4 goals and picked up an assist in 22 appearances. So you probably sat there thinking, all right, well, he ain't that good. Trust me, I think he's very, very good. This guy is very, very good. And as a team who are potentially looking for a number 10 replacement when Mesut finally departs us, he's potentially a very good option. Like I say, for me, he's Mini Sanchez, from what I've seen of him. We were supposedly very interested in him in January. As per usual, didn't have any money to complete the deal, and that's why nothing ever happened of that. But I would say, guys, keep your eyes peeled for this one. I think there is something that potentially could happen over the summer with him. He's 19 years old. I think has a big future, big bright future ahead of him. So we'll see what happens there. But Almada is being linked with a move to Arsenal once again. For the region of £20 million. Where do we go next? Speaking of youngsters, Adil Anoush. This is another one who's another attacking midfielder. 18 years old now. Someone with a lot of promise. Someone that has been linked with a move again for a little while to Arsenal. Most recently rejected a new contract from PSG. He felt that he wouldn't get the game time required at PSG, so he would rather move now. And has basically told PSG that he wants to leave the club in the summer. Sorry, excuse me, he's 18 years old. I thought he was, sorry, he's 17 years old. I thought he was 18 years old. So he's been capped 12 times at under 18s level. He scored 16 goals in 25 appearances at the under 17s level. He did break into the first team squad and has scored 1 goal in 3 appearances so far for PSG, which makes you think, okay, so if he's just broke it in, why does he want to leave? But I guess, people, they're not patient. If they feel like they could see the finishing line, if they feel like they're better than some of the people ahead of them, they want to play now, regardless of age. Obviously, from an Arsenal perspective, this appeals to us a lot because, from my understanding, Adil Ayaushi, I think that's how you say it, Ayaushi, his contract is coming to an end this summer. So potentially he could be free. He's not going to be cheap, though. He's not going to be cheap because, according to the French publications, he's looking for a contract worth £22,000 a week and a signing off fee of 3.6 million. So he clearly feels like he knows his worth. Now, to put it into perspective, you're probably sat there thinking, all right, 22 grand ain't a lot. Saka is on 5 grand a week right now. And all right, he's deep into contract negotiations, but he's on 5 grand a week. And if you want to put it into perspective, he's a year older and he's much more proven than this Adil guy. So that's a lot of money for a 17-year-old. Makes you think, flipping heck, how much are you gonna be demanding in a few years' time? But I like the confidence in a way, and he is free. So the money that you would have saved to purchase him, you can put into a contract. So I think these are the things that potentially will kind of offset it for Arsenal, even if they are quite high wage demands for a 17-year-old. I think he might need to check himself with that 22, with that signing on fee though. I think he might need to check himself with both. To be fair, need to relax. £22,000 a week. I know people that don't earn £22,000 a year as a 17-year-old. Need to relax. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. What do you guys think though? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Let's talk about finally Mr. Pablo Mari. So Pablo Mari is someone who is already an Arsenal player in some respects. He's on loan, and he's someone that a lot of people like. For me, the first time I had a chance to see him, I know people were impressed with him prior to when he got injured. Actually, for me, the City game, I was pretty impressed with him. He played a pretty small role. It was very brief. But I saw people say some stupid shit like, "Oh, he looked a bit lumbering. He looked a bit nervous." To me, he looked the most composed out of all the defenders for the brief time he was on. He looked calm. Yes, he's not quick, but I think people place way too much emphasis on speed. Way too much emphasis. You got to be a quick thinker. You don't necessarily need to be a quick doer. Be a quick thinker. I hark back to this, and I'll say this again. Some of the best defenders in the Premier League weren't quick. Tony Adams, arguably someone that a lot of fans, if you are 25 years and older, would have said Tony Adams was an excellent defender. I only say 25 years and older because it's unlikely to remember him if you're any younger than 25 years old. Right? And let me tell you something. Adams, bless him, was slower than a slug. Straight up. He was slower than a slug. But one of the best defenders you will ever see. One of the quickest thinking defenders you'll ever see. John Terry. Couldn't stand the geezer as a person. But ultimately, I didn't know him. So the only thing that I could judge him on is really what I see on the pitch. And what I saw on the pitch, as much as I don't like to admit it, was someone who was an absolute beast of a defender. You know why? Because he was a quick thinker. And he was able to communicate with the people around him. Now, another one who was very, very good and didn't have pace because he was injured, and that was Ledley King. Yes, I know he's Spurs, but let's just be real here. Ledley King had one hamstring, basically. Never trained, never ever trained, and was still regarded as one of the best defenders in the Premier League. So you can't be telling me that this guy had pace with one hamstring. But again, this is someone that knew how to marshal the defense and had the intelligence of how to marshal that defense. This is again someone who didn't rely on pace and was one of the best defenders in the league. So I'm sick of hearing people saying, "Oh, Pablo Mari ain't quick." Mertesacker, for flip's sake. I don't care what anyone says. Mertesacker has been the best defender we signed in the last 5 years. Quote me. Quote me. Was slow as an ox. But again, was the best reader we've ever had. And we missed him. We missed him. Koscielny was never the same once he retired. Was never the same. So I feel like people place way too much emphasis on that. But it is what it is. With Mari, I think I see something in him that I like. He's composed, he's confident. I think he's ready to prove himself. He's 26 years old. The hope for him now is that if we are signing him, which this is what this story is about, that he's going to be signed for the region of £14.4 million. And we're going to buy him from his club, Flamingo. For for me, I think it's a good purchase. But I also don't want it to be our only purchase defender-wise. I'd like us to still go out there and still see what we can pick up. Because especially if our plan is to get rid of Luiz for cost-cutting purposes, Socrates, supposedly Holding, and Mustafi, great. Co-sign all those decisions. What's your plan, though? You know, because just bringing in Mari to play alongside Saliba, who's injury prone as it is not going to cut it. You need someone else. You know? So these are the things I want us to be active in the summer. So I do think this is a good decision. I do like the decision. And I hope Mari makes a good recovery. Supposedly it'll be touch and go if he makes the start of the season, which in itself is another reason to bring in a defender. But yeah, I think for me, for what I see of the kid, let's see what we got. No problem. But who else are you going to bring? That's the real question. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think. Once again, leave it in the comments below. I know I've been off camera today. Like I said, guys, it's hot, man. I ain't gonna lie. Straight up, you don't want to see me topless. so I literally kept the camera off. But I'm going to leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your day. I know football's on, and I may join Lee on his watch along a bit later. Do feel free to join the membership. I'm going to be working on a couple of things for the membership this week. So look out, members. Sorry about the FIFA drop yesterday. Apparently showed up on the public forum. And then when I thought everybody was off the public forum, I unlisted it, put it in the members chat, and then everybody flooded on like, hold on, what's going on here? So for you to watch me stream on FIFA, you've got to be a member. You've got to be a gold member specifically. But keep in mind, you can be any sort of member to support the show. The silver membership is $3.99. The gold membership is $5.99 a month. For silver membership, you get all my pre-recorded videos before the other subscribers, and you get daily vlogs. They will be starting the end of this week. So you will start to see those uploaded. In addition to, what was I going to say? In addition to the gold members, they get all of that, but they get cooking with Chigs, they get streaming with FIFA, and they get streaming with me generally, just having a kickback, chit-chatting with them. There may also be an opportunity to stream with me on the main channel for the subscribers, for the gold members. So keep that in mind. It is worth it. I try and make it worth it. And I'm still thinking of things to put on it to make it better value for you. So do make sure you, even if you just want to support the show, that's the best way to do it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I've rabbited on long enough, haven't I? Yeah, I think I have. All right, guys. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Eagle Eye and my preview will be Wednesday. So it'll be another Eagle Eye tomorrow. So do catch me at 7. I'll be on time this time. I promise. Until tomorrow, guys, take care. Enjoy the sun. Enjoy the heat if you're in the UK, because it's going to be a scorcher this week. Take care. Deuces.